reminisce. Way they running back to the dick, they think they Emmitt Smith. No real player gon' break it, that shit be imminent. Yeah. Nigga, we was trapping out the tenement. Niggas ain't hard, they just loud, them niggas impotent. Ain't in it for the glory, my life story is intricate. Don't crash out for the money and watch the niggas you get it with. I say it all, cause I'm past the point that I'ma play with y'all. And as the president, I'ma have to revoke your player call. Don't think the nigga ever was real, and he gon' stay a fraud. Don't think a nigga bluffing is not nothing to break them all. Saquon ho, it's not nothing to shake them all. With no street clothes in my bed, oh better take them all. Just get that cheese, breaking that bread, and I can stay involved. Wanna look sweet in my side seat, got to pay the cost.
I got dope and cheese, I'm smoking G's. While I was scaling dope and weed, y'all been yelling broken knees. You gon' do it, baby, do it, gotta hold and squeeze. For real, it's cold out here, one of you hoes gon' freeze. Rob the reverend, call the blessing, hold your nose, don't sneeze. Poop, nigga. Oops, nigga. Pull up in that big shit like I'm too big for that coupe, nigga. Too legit to quit, no, I'm just too legit for you, nigga. Twin towers feel the power when we speaking, nigga. Cope like I was in the ghost with Tommy Egan, nigga. If your bitch looks suspicious, she probably creeping, nigga. If you heard this shit before, it's probably me. And don't ask me about no money, I'ma tell you, let me hold something. 60K and Debbie walking around like I don't owe nothing. So and so got shot up, I just act like I don't know nothing. I call love, but we make a hit and miss a home run. Clean up in the kitchen, we can't have no dirty dishes. Cause it's roaches outside and we cooking if they don't sniff it. Took a shot in the dark, I just went for this shit. Why I aim for the stars, go forward and get nothing. Somewhere there's a young nigga on the same thing. Suggested advice, I tell him do better. Baby mom pregnant, I was turning 18. Ain't even focused my mind to getting cheddar. So I quit this rap shit, quit chasing my dreams. Fuck it, get money off of hoes and the fiends. Fuck it, get money, then turn around, blow it. If I was my plug, man, I wouldn't even throw it. Maybe I would get money, you know it. Really had the city for some summers with the lows, yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to fill out this request real quick. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. All stays anonymous. Okay. So what we're talking about primarily is at this moment, the effects. Let me hit this like so I can go ahead and get my full effect. Don't mind me. There we go. All right, that's a lot better. Wow. So the full effect of what exactly takes place when it comes to a person's mental health mindset. Now, this person asked me this question. Outside of it just being men's mental health, how does one actually maintain their sanity? Now, that's a heavy word. Outside of men's mental health, how does one maintain their sanity in a world that is filled with insanity? All right. So let's go ahead and let's tap into that. In a world filled with, oh, wow. You know the best thing to do? Make sure that you maintain yourself around people and or places and things that is conducive to what you consider sanity to be. You know, the last thing that we want to do is to go out here and to be all in everything else. You don't want to concern yourself with why is this person saying this or this is happening here, more so than you want to be focused on who you want the best of you to be, period. Sanity is about peace. A whole lot of what takes place when it happens, when it happens to deal with sanity, the very first thing that we all must ask ourselves: how peaceful is the majority of your life, if any part of it at all? Out of the 24 hours that actually go by, right? So there are 24 hours. Boom. Out of those 24 hours, how many of them for you yourself would you say is considered to be peaceful? Is majority of your day consistent upon, as the clock winds and ticks, from the moment you wake up, you gotta rush, you gotta do this, do that, right? Or it's chaotic? Do you have it to where you barely get rest? And so you're up majority of the hours out of the 24 continuously going through things. Then 9 times out of 10, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to try to imagine and or see where it is that I'm going with this. And that's totally understandable. Let's focus on that point right there. When it comes to your day, how much of your day would you say that you get a moment to yourself? And when you get that moment to yourself, how long does that moment to yourself consist of? When you say to yourself, you know what, I just want to go ahead and take a moment for me, are you comfortable in knowing that you'll have it for yourself? And I'm talking about you can be a bachelor or bachelorette even, because the fact is, if your life is consistent upon being a pillar, being somebody who is very much so busybody, in the sense of you continuously are working, you're doing everything that we all know needs to be done and some. Where is your peace? You're saying, where exactly is that? So now we're going to transform this into what we're speaking about primarily. All right, so the mental health aspect of it. And I want us to think about, why would you say, for whatever reason, there are so many, endless stories of very, very wealthy people who just find themselves going off the edge of a cliff, whether in their mind or in the literal sense? Have you ever thought about why? I have. I think to myself, as I look at a person who may have everything in front of them. I got a good friend of mine. Rest in peace to him. Condolences to the family, right? My boy David McDonald. Example. The last time I saw his social media page, it was nothing but smiles. It was all kind of like business, opportunities. You can see he's taking pictures around tycoons and all kinds of stuff going on in his life. And out of nowhere, or out of somewhere, should I say, all of a sudden you see a post that says RIP David McDonald, right? And salute to the brother. Point is in saying that when all of this took place, that he, from what reports say, went on ahead and ended things. He was at the height of his life. This man was at the height of his life. Or was he? What was going on through Dave's mind? What was he thinking? What was really going through his head while all of this was taking place? And I only use that as an example to say we absolutely, positively never know what is going through a person's spirit, no matter what it is that we see on the exterior. You can see a whole lot of things, or you can think you do. But when it comes to mental health, it comes in so many different forms. It comes in the form of complete shutdown. It comes in the form of, I'll laugh and joke with you all day, and then leave from this party and end it all. And y'all will never know that was coming. It also can come in the form of, we actually did have a clue or an inclination that this was going to happen, right? But this person kept on fighting, aka the beautiful struggle that not everybody wins. A lot of people go through something called a beautiful, beautiful struggle. And it's very difficult to, make it through all of the different phases and levels and mental dimensions that one will have to go through when having to face whatever it is that they have to go through. One thing that I definitely recognize is that, the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Bullsh. Words are very important. And words take a whole lot longer to get over as opposed to getting over a black eye or even a broken nose. Let's say it takes a whole 2 years for you to really get like it just, all right, it's like the whole broken nose never happened. You just might be coming into the cusp of, I'm able to recognize I got an actual problem with what was said to me after 2 whole years. Thus, the process begins. Mental health, and when it comes to how it's dealt with, and I don't mean from the person who's going through it, I mean how society deals with it, because you want to know what's so delicate about mental health. All right. But we're going to keep it focused on men's mental health because that's what we on, right? All right. You can have a whole dynamic where I am actually aware that majority of the world is already going through something. I mean, the fact is that have we all not heard this, the famous line that goes, get in line, right? You might as well go ahead, get in line with the rest of everybody else. All right. Okay. Why is that? Sure. Yeah, we're gonna let that rock out. All right, so just ignore that. There we go. Everything that takes place and happens, it's not because of a coincidence or anything. Everything that happens is because it was designed to happen, whether you see it as your fault or not. Why am I saying this? Because I also recognize how much the more you keep looking at this life as if like you actually control it, and I mean in the sense of universal wise, the more frustrated you will be. Because the universes will, matter of fact, yes, the universes will always be much more massive than anything you can ever think of. But we got to remember the multiple universes is nothing more than just possibly, I don't know, just the blackness within our lovin's creator iris. That could just be a peak of something. So when you recognize how much there is more to what it is that you think this life consists of and how less we actually do have control when it comes to the things outside of our realm, you start to recognize, you know what, I got peace. And what do I mean by that? I mean simply let go. We have so many people who suffer through something called mental anguish, mental dis-ease. And they go through this mental dis-ease simply because they just do not have the outlets to be able to identify with what is it that I'm going through. What is it exactly? What is it exactly that's going through my mind that I have to actually act a certain way, present myself a certain way? Why do I feel as if maybe, perfect example, I need validation? You know something? A lot of this can come from the individual who has yet to recognize how traumatized they have been from what it is that life has shown them. And sometimes the trauma is not always something that's bloody and gory. No, you can be traumatized by shifting the times alone. Just a simple shift in what you thought was normal And now what is normal can absolutely turn everything around. It can flip your whole world upside down. And then that's when we get to the point where it's like, hold on, wait a minute. Am I in the twilight zone? I've seen so many different perspectives of life that have come through, you know, my way when it comes to what they've gone through, what a person has seen, what a person has heard, what you feel. You know what's most important that I notice? The disconnect. You know, we keep talking about men's mental health, and you know something, we speak a lot about therapy. I want to say personally, as somebody who first was introduced to therapy, I don't know, maybe at the age of 13, because my parents actually were attentive parents and they acknowledged my upbringing. Now, getting to the point of this, when I first went to therapy, I recognized something. I recognized that this isn't something that really fits what it is that I need, or at least that's the way that I felt it, right? But then over time and talking, and then I'm saying this as far as once I finally got older, then I look back on it, right? You know, the whole hindsight being 2020. I actually recognize, I'm like, you know something, I see exactly what my parents were doing, as involved as they were in my life, right? As involved in like my whole, what are you thinking? How was your day at school? There was still a certain form of, let's say, non-bias mediation that was needed. So then we come to the point of they take me there. And what was so healthy and beautiful was that throughout the correlation of them speaking and saying how they see things as my parents, me at the time being no older than, I don't know, between the ages of 12 and 14 at the time, because that was, you know, that was short lived. All right, cool. I also saw a lot of where they were coming from. I can honestly say, even years, if not decades after, I was able to recognize how much that actually did increase the bondage with me and my parents. Because we actually had, I'm talking about like not an aunt or an uncle, right? We didn't have that. We didn't have somebody who had any ties to what it was that went down in the household, throughout the family. We were able to get a wonderful perspective. Now, if you do not have balance in your life, a lot of this can shift into a mental what? Dis-ease. As in, the mind is at a dis-ease. It's not comfortable. It's not in the right realm in which it should be in. So you know what happens? The body does what the mind tells it. So now you try and figure out, why am I agitated? Why am I irritated? What's going on with me? Well, again, mental health is not always something that has to do with you just being some nutcase. It don't have nothing to do with you being absolutely crazy. Nah, it's levels to this, just like any and everything else that we know about. When it comes to the fashion of the actual diagnosis of whatever it is that a person would say that you are, anxiety, PTSD, depression, a little bit of all of it, mix that in, schizophrenia, heck, let's just toss in cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and batshit crazy. Anything you want to name. You're always going to have to take time to recognize that all of these things will always be a subjective factor when it comes to the societal standards. Now, if we know that it's going to be subjective to the factors of the societal standards, then why would one make that something that is to be the totality of what they think everybody thinks? The answer is simple, because a lot of people truly are seeking validation. See, the fact is that during this month of men's mental health, there are a lot of men all over who just want to know that they're not crazy. There are a lot of men who just simply want to know, like, I'm not tripping, am I? Right? And even if they are, even if you can be like, yeah, nah, nah, you wild for that one. The positive reinforcement, if not any reinforcement at all, is necessary. Feedback is necessary. Communication is necessary. Because I promise you, there are a whole lot of people who just simply said there's no point of me being here anymore because they didn't have anyone to talk to. And we always have to remember that those people do exist. All right. And I don't know who possibly could hear this at whatever moment. Who possibly could be listening now or after this live is done. But just note that although your phone calls may not always be picked up, your spiritual cries are always heard, right? So we got to remember that. You got a lot of people that's truly suffering through something that we all know called loneliness. Now, there are several different ways to view how loneliness depicts itself. Loneliness. Some will look at it as it's an actual burden. Some people would look at it as this can be a temporary opportunity for me to go ahead and elevate, break the shell, crack through the chrysalis, and go ahead and spread my wings, right? But it's all on how you see it. How do you depict it? You know something in life, we always will be given these options in which we're always going to come to a fork in the road, right? Like, you're just going to have to just pick a side. Life continuously makes sure that you choose. Like, watch this. You could be tired. Life will say, now you have a decision. I made your body sleepy. Are you going to try to fight the sleep and stay awake? Or are you going to give in to the rest? It's a choice. Your stomach growls. Life says, I went on ahead and made you acknowledge the fact that you need to eat. Are you now going to bypass mealtime? Or are you going to go ahead and take a lunch break? Decisions. And you know something, life does the exact same thing when it comes to our actual emotions, as in the energy that moves you. The energy that moves you. The energy that moves you. That's all life does. You know, life itself is one big emotion, because life itself is the continuous pulsation of energy. And the continuous pulsation of that very energy will continuously move you. No matter how much you think it won't, it will. It'll move you. Continuously, you will be in a point where you're trying to figure out which direction at this point of the fork in the road do I want to go. Why? Because you're going to have multiple pulsations of energy that is trying to get you to move either left, right, or go smooth down the middle and break through the side. You know something? Some people wound up having the pulsation ground them, and then they wound up having their feet planted as roots into the very soil in which they stand at the fork in the road. Why am I saying this? Because if you think there's one way to deal with however it is that your mind and how this world functions, you're sadly mistaken. If you think that to get this world to conform to anything that you think it should, you're sadly mistaken. You know, again, something that I learned a long time ago is the day that you discover that you have peace is the day that you recognize that you don't step outside your door and try to carpet the world. You just simply wear shoes. Just put some shoes on. Stop trying to carpet the world. Listen, we need to recognize that there is a difference between what is self-inflicted mental disailment and what is actual birth deformity and or right. What were you born with? What is something that has been, you know, an actual diagnosis, and what have you actually made yourself to be afflicted upon? Now, watch this. You have some people who are born with diabetes. Okay. There are some people who never had it, wasn't born with it. And I'm not talking about it being hereditary. I'm talking about simply through their lack of keeping up with their health caused them to become one. Now let's go ahead and transform that into what we're speaking about. Mental health. Some people are truly born with mental health issues, right? And there are people who make it a self-inflicted thing. Now, which one deserves more attention? Now, that's the $1,000,000 question for most people. I can tell you right now, both deserve the equal amount of attention. Because just as much as one might have inflicted mental health issues on themselves through whatever it is they have chosen to have themselves subjected to, what was the reason for them to do so? That all in itself is a study. Everything that goes down with our minds, our spirit, our body is an entire utopia of information continuously rewinding itself, as well as bringing about new footage continuously. You know, a lot of times when you think that you've seen the same thing, you really haven't. You are getting a refreshment of something that you are familiar with that is presenting itself in new form and fashion. It happens all the time. Let's just call it a reenactment of reincarnation. Okay. You will not be able to obtain peace until you recognize that this world does not function how you want it to or how you think it should. You will not be able to obtain it. Period. The day I found myself was the day I lost myself. Let's go ahead and try that again. The day I found myself is the day that I lost myself. All right. There were so many things that I had to lose in order to discover. Smitty, why do you keep taking us down this roller coaster of an up and down, and we think we getting to the point? Well, the point is this: your life will continuously be a rabbit hole. Your life will continuously be a mystery. Forever there will be things that you will not be able to comprehend. See, I'm trying to give you the slow cook version of how to obtain peace. If this is about mental health issues, what I believe the most key factor in obtaining the true golden root of all of this is recognizing that a lot of people make themselves angry. A lot of people, a lot of times, bring about stress on themselves. Have you ever heard of or known of a person to say, I'm an overthinker? Now, you know, sometimes it can be beneficial. Majority of the times, it will lead you down a spiral of study long, study wrong. So again, I'm saying everything that I'm saying because the day that I obtained my peace was the day that I recognized I must formulate this throughout the chaos that surrounds me. There's nothing I can do about the chaos that's in this world. There's nothing I can do about how anybody thinks of me or treats me. You can't do anything about it. You know what you can do? You can make sure that you do not try to carpet the world. And you can just simply walk out your door with a pair of shoes. Simple. And you know what's so crazy is that once we finally recognize that that's all it took, and it's one of those things where like you just kind of like get to smacking your forehead with the palm of your hand, like, why didn't I think of that a long time ago? Here it is. Because of how the world and society has crafted things, I actually thought to myself that I am supposed to be just acquiescing. I'm supposed to be doing everything that this world wants me to do. And again, this is why I say you find your peace when you recognize how much of inside of a grain of sand existence that you are when it comes to the totality of the multi of the universes that exist. There's always something so much larger than us. And the day that I recognize that is the day that I have acquired something called humility and humbleness. Humbleness and humility has helped me so much in my walk of whatever anybody would consider to be a mental health walk. I was diagnosed with depression. Okay, cool. I was diagnosed with anxiety. Cool. Do you know what helps me the most? Knowing how to curve it in an organic fashion, but also knowing the balance in whatever it is that I need to do and whoever it is that I need to speak to on a professional level, I do so. It's one of those things where I look at it kind of like the perfect balanced diet, right? When you have the proper formulation of how we should inquire food, right? I mean, should ingest food, then that's when all of that starts to play itself out for the best factors of your health. Now, when your diet is off kilt, then you will be off kilt. When your mental health is off kilt, it's simply because of the way that you may walk and the way you live throughout this life is off kilt. You know, and a lot of people think that it's always such a huge, big, like medical issue. No. Somebody could need therapy simply because of their environment, and they were born perfectly fine. Did you know that? Of course you did. There are some people who actually don't need any therapy at all. You know what they need? To not feel like they're alone. You know what they need? I don't know, sometimes just a hug. That's right. You all should go around and to whomever you may feel comfortable asking. I'm talking about in the hood and like in moments where, you know, folks don't really maybe get the best nourishments of life. Ask someone, when was the last time you had a sincere hug? Now be careful because depending on their answer, they just might want you to give them a good 10 Mississippis. All right, with the rub and pat on the back. All right. But I really want us to think about that. You know how many people have gone decades and they haven't had a sincere hug? You know, just a hug. I ain't talking about huggies now. I mean, you know, I ain't gonna lie. You know, the green and blue Joan is my favorite, but no, I'm talking about a hug. A lot of people are really missing that in their life. And then we go around and we try to figure out, well, what's wrong with all of these YNs? What's wrong with a lot of the people of a certain age range and everything else? Well, I can tell you right now, that's a large part of what's going on with a lot of people. And I don't mean the hug physically, what comes before it and after it. Now, I want you to think about, usually before you get a hug, what do you receive? A smile. It's usually a smile and what? Open arms. That's before the hug, right? All right, now, boom. Now, I want us to picture we're in the midst of the hug, and now we release 3, 2, 1. Bah, get off me. Get off me. Now we're in the place of, so how you been? So we went from knowing that somebody cares enough to give us a good smile, open arms, and a hug. Now we're at the place where, oh, wow, you actually care to know about how I've been? Man, shoot, how much time you got? Right? Because there are a lot of us who go through a lot of, it's been so long since I have felt comfortable, or anybody even looked like they had any interest in what it was that I was going through. Smitty, there you go again, just rambling. No, sir. Everything connects. The very thing that we call therapy is the very thing that once upon a time we genuinely had throughout our communities. Outlets. Therapy is an outlet. And it's a very healthy outlet that I definitely encourage any and everybody who absolutely needs it to go and exercise that option. Do not turn it down. It could be the death of you, or it could be the life of you. Don't turn it down if you know that you have no other options, and don't turn it down even if you do and you just have a inclination that possibly it could be helpful. Give it a shot. But I want us to really pay attention to something, right? For the longest time, we have had something called community connection, something called the velvet of the village, as in what it is that bonds us, that velvet, that blood bond, that everything is connected. When one feels pain, we all do. You know, I really wonder, is it even such a thing now? I'm not saying it isn't, but is it even such a thing now where, you know how back in the day we had that auntie, that mama, that grandma that will pop up out of their sleep in the middle of the night around this time and be like, my baby, and they don't feel right because they got that intuition. Now, do you know where that comes from? Because there was always such a deep-rooted connection. We didn't need to have to text and call 24/7 and drop locations. We were so well connected that when something happened to one of our own, or we even felt like something was going to happen, it would disturb our rest. All right, so now let's get back to the mental health. Now we have been so disconnected that we're trying to figure out where are all of these ailments coming from within our people. There is a disconnection. Okay. Now, mind you, I want to make it very clear that I am not the be all or end all. 1 second. I wanted to make sure I didn't. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have to sneeze again. But oh shit. One second. I'm sorry. I want to make it clear that what it is that you hear me say is not the be all end all. No, this is just a portion of what it is that goes on. And that's how many, many multi-layered all of this is. It's so multi-layered. There's so many different sections and sectors of what it is that goes through the ultimate dynamic of the world of the mind of what we call dysfunction, because all of us are like a brain cell inside of this one big brain that we all call dysfunction. Ah, boy, it gets a lot deeper than what you know. Give me 1 second. I want to go blow my nose. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Right, my check 1 2, my check 1 2. Cool beans. Thank you very much. I apologize dearly. It's that time of year. So out here in the DMV, it can be vicious. It can be vicious. So anyway, when it comes to what we call a mental health crisis, let's reflect one more again for the win. One more again for the win. There is a large portion of it that is actually a factor that should be taken into consideration. Yes. And that factor is who was actually born and or it came up under certain circumstances. Now, we also have the certain portion of how much of it do we inflict upon ourselves, right? I'm going to give you a good example of what I mean by that. Let's take the news during the C virus bow. Here we go. How many people did you notice that just all of a sudden out of nowhere, they got real crazy with some stuff politically? Don't touch me. All of that, right? Now, what would you say was the key root factor as to why all of that really kicked off? Do you think it's because the news finally said something and then one day it just happened? Or would you say maybe, just maybe, possibly? No, that's always been inside them. What they did was activate it. You see, some things can be activated. Now, when do they activate it? After decades, if not centuries of conditioning. Now, again, let's think about it. There are some people who actually were born with certain ailments, but a lot of this is inflicted upon. A lot of it is self-inflicted upon. what it is that we choose to watch, what it is that we choose to listen to, who it is we choose to be around, where it is we choose to go. And then we wake up one day and we're like, you know what? I don't like people. Do you really not like people? Or have you been traumatized by what it is that you subjected yourself to? Or are you traumatized by what it is that you had no choice but to be subjected to? All key factors. All right. So I need us to really remind ourselves and think about what is it that we're actually really going through. Now, I'm going to need you all to give me one quick moment because I have to go ahead and close this window and stop letting pollen in. So I'm going to stall real quick. Stay or leave, your choice. All right. I appreciate your patience. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to it. All right, so we're speaking about what it is that unfolds when it comes to what we consider to be mental health. All right, cool beans. All right, so now let's really take our time and think about it. What do you see taking place around you? Do you see more things of peace? Do you hear more peace? I want you to think about your average entire day. The average of your entire day. How much peace would you say out of 100% of that day do you get? How much peace would you say that you see in the entire percentage out of the 100% of your day? Let's really take the time. Let's slow down and let's break it down. What really is mental health? Or what really is non-conducive for a person's spirit? How many of us are in circumstances where we live, our environment, we know we want something that looks so much better. We know we want something that is so much better. We can't stand the fact that we got to walk through this bullshit, right? So is it really that you have mental issues, or is it that you are in an environment in which you are not able to truly bring out the best of you that there is to be? You know, I be thinking about that part of it. You know, I really do. I think about that often. I think about like what really is actually what we see to be the death of a mentality. What is the death of a mentality? When one truly and finally loses themselves to the point of no return. You ever come across somebody who you've known, like, and you know who they were, And then you come across them after maybe some time, and it's like you don't even know who they are. The death of a mentality. And where does the mental come from? See, first of all, we all know this part of it. See, we only know half of the saying, and that is the mind. I mean, the body does what the mind tells it. The body does what the mind tells it. You know, there's a process before that. The mind is capable of imagining because the spirit is still intact. You know, your spirit being intact. When your spirit is not of array, when your spirit is still, and I'm talking about when I say spirit, I mean your essence, your aura, who you are. For those who aren't necessarily believers, the you, the real you, before the mind even gets there, there was something that told the mind to do that. So even though the mind tells the body what to do, what told the mind to do that in the first place? Now, whatever it is that the body winds up doing and the mind told it to do it, I want us to really follow the sequence of it. How much peace did the spirit have before the mind thought what it thought? And then when that mind thought what it thought, whether it was peaceful or not, was the body able to go ahead and have any say so in what it did or not? No, it didn't. Why? Because the mind tells the body what to do. How do we know this? Science tells us it's something called brain dead. If you brain dead, can your body move? All right. So now that we move past that part, I don't really sit around and try to hone in too much on whether or not my mind is either in a good state or not. You know what I peep around me the most? What goes on around me? You know, generally speaking, you have a whole huge catalog of how your actual mental is because of your environment. And I don't mean the parts of your environment that you cannot control. So we're going to take it to the home. The more in order your home is, the more in order the mind is. The more in order the mind is, the better one is able to think. Thus, we cut down a whole lot of what we would call the mental anguish. When one's environment is in order, one's mind generally is in order. Usually, you can tell what's going on in a person's head the very moment you step on their property. One more again for the win. You usually can tell what's going on to a T exactly in a person's head as soon as you step on their property. Let's give that about 11 seconds to sit.
Black Air Force energy.
As it should be. Right? So let's just make sure that we keep this all in full perspective and focus. There's always going to be so many aspects of life the fact is, life is always going to keep life. And how do you life through life, right? Me personally, I just like to kind of add cinnamon to it and make it into little squares and stuff, and then do a commercial. Because the last time I checked, that's how we used to handle life, just like the cereal commercial. We sat around and it was nothing, although we knew it was something. We get it. We got it. We recognize that we don't have too much control on how life is going to operate, as an AKA, most of us are not able to determine whether or not it's going to rain or not tomorrow. I'm not talking about Native American. I'm not talking about the government. Leave that out. Real talk, though. Most of us can't control that. And I'm saying that to say there are forces out here that we don't have control over. You know, like the forces of who's going to be on the road tomorrow. Lord forbid. You know, like the forces of who you're going to run into tomorrow. Lord forbid. You see, there are a lot of factors that we do not have control over. You know, we do have control over how we respond to life. It's a very, very, very big portion of everything that takes place. So now that we got, is this on? Yeah, this part. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I'm on both stations. So now that we know all of this, right, I need you to get this part. There will always be you versus everything that's around you. All right, again, it's always going to be you versus everything that's around you. If you think for a second that it's not supposed to be in that form, then you're just not in touch with how life works. Now that we've gotten past the point of knowing it's you versus everything around you, your peace comes into play when you recognize that it's you versus everything around you. Life is continuously going to be exactly what it is. And you know something? It continuously shows us that, hey, you, even you, Mr. Oh so smart human brain, right? Mr. Top of the food chain. Even you are going to have to adapt and adjust to whatever it is that I say you need to. And the very moment that you don't, you and all of your kind will slowly diminish. What is the moral of this story? What we consider to be mental anguish a lot of times is the lack of adjusting. A lot of people do not have happiness because they just don't know how to recognize and realize that it's so much more in front of you than what it is that you think you see. It's not about always being at the right place at the right time. It's not always about mind over matter. It's about simple acknowledgement of life. Now, again, this is just another perspective of many, because you know what we do. We take the cross and we turn it into a star because we hit it from different angles and we make it shine. All right. With that being said, y'all know what time it is. Respect to you all.
Now if you and your legend shoot this up to 10, the airways belong to Disciple and the war chief blend. First digest the heat from my toaster. Blast, cotton can last on your block out the class.
Yeah, digging on the Sheba, tapping on the Sheba, singing they want sunset, cotton you want nuts and the ass whipping, and feel it wouldn't kick in. Never juggle satin, coolie coda can't blow, coolie how is how I pump. When the convincers in my clutch, your murder one sung it then hush.
The
Hollywood.
awakening, how much notes are we raking in? The more we vision, you ain't fit for this division. So put the splits on it. Tell your boxy put her lips on it. It's murder one when the
I'm
stone's
trying
on
to
it.
tell you now, the copper here from the 3 o'clock and a something terrible that happened when you fall shatting. No counterfeit, never dug the sound a bit low. Cold toss the out, raise a candy cut, what? Low sugar streets where the hustle pros and cats meet. My kin looking like Flint about to boogie
Inside
in.
Sheba sugar walls, trying to landscape pleasure. I face the north in the north face bubble feather. Stone tribe jungle life diamond crook campus. Destined for Sugar City and we copping Willie
I got
Snickers.
you wide. Yeah, I keep you wide.
I digress. My mic is muted.
Yeah, for sure, Smitty. Bro, I'm telling you, bro, we gotta just change up some shit, bro, sometime. You know what I'm saying? We gotta come with different flavors and vibes. And the fact that you want to come hang with us, bro, you more than welcome, bro. Don't be a stranger, please. Like, because I've been hearing about you, seeing you on other panels and shit, holding it down. You feel me? I ain't never heard no bullshit about you. That's for sure. I fuck with it. I fuck with you, my boy.